Hello and welcome
to the Heinun Couples Podcast,
where we empower blessed couples
to deepen the love, fostering mutual pleasure, connection, and joy.
So let's dive in. Hi everyone. In this episode, we talk about a challenging decision international blessed couples face: choosing where to build a life together.
Meet Heidi from Norway and JeeSong from Liberia. Both share their unique matching journey and their way of dealing with external struggles such as visa issues that that led them to move to a country neither of them came from. They opened up about their cultural differences they faced, from JeeSong's more social Liberian background to Heidi's quieter Norwegian culture, and how they learned to create a new home.
This episode is perfect for couples wondering how to make a big decision together, especially when it means leaving everything familiar behind. So enjoy. Thank you for you guys to come on the Heidi Couples Podcast. And today's topic, I feel like a lot of couples could really relate on. The topic on deciding where do you want to build your life or create your life, or where
Your
to
future.
move your future, and how your cultural background might play in that as well. Yeah, so we would love to hear a little bit about your matching and blessing story, and then move forward from that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can take the lead on that.
Yeah, no. I mean, our story is, we've talked about it a few times. We met in Cheongpyeong during the Top Gun workshop. And then, it wasn't, how do I say, like our parents didn't introduce us to each other. And we kind of had a situation where we had to introduce ourselves to our parents, so to speak. And that was an interesting kind of perspective to share with people. So that's something we've actually talked about a few times. And I think it's also nice to share a bit of that here as well. Yeah, and I think Heidi will also share a bit about why that was kind of a bit interesting for us, because we realized our story was a bit different from others. And sometimes that needed some processing for other people. Because maybe they were introduced or something like that.
Yeah, but I think we met a bit prior to the workshop, and we sort of had a lot of mutual friends from before, and a lot of like JeeSong went to the GOP program. My brother also went to the GOP program. There was sort of like many similarities. We had loads of friends in common, but we never really knew about each other. And then we met a Sunday service before the workshop. He didn't introduce himself. He was like the only one that didn't introduce himself, and I was like, who is this like weird guy? Like, he's so rude. But I was just joking around. I didn't really know you too much from the time. But then we saw each other on the workshop, and then you pretended like you knew me from the workshop, and I was like, what? I can't remember this guy. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then we ended up just becoming friends naturally, I think, on the workshop, and things developed a lot more. And then we told our parents about each other, and we were like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but I remember my parents were like, Heidi, you're really young, like, slow it down a bit.
We met when we met. I was turning 20. You were turning 19.
Yeah,
so we were quite young. But yeah, it was interesting because we like sharing our experience. Really, I think for a lot of people, there wasn't so much guidance around people meeting outside of, let's say, matching process that you're introduced to and stuff like that. So our story kind of shared.
I think it was different at the time, because I think all the friends we knew met each other through their parents, and it was sort of, I think at the time it was sort of like seen as like a bit taboo if you met each other and then you introduced maybe a potential to your parents. And I think we were both kind of scared of that. I was like, oh my God, am I doing something wrong? What is wrong with me? And then I was like, is this okay? And then I remember my mother being like, you can be guided as well by God. It's not only your parents that can be guided. But I think at the time that was super scary. Yeah. And then we were friends for a very long time, because I felt like it was too early to start. My mom felt like it was a bit early as well. So we sort of kept in contact on and off as friends, and then a few...
And it was time. I think also it was, like I said, like the right time kind of came. I also felt like, we didn't like meet in the most ideal circumstances, but like it was still, we felt like somehow we're guided. and it was time to kind of to take the initiative and really see if we can commit and build something together.
But I think we still had a lot of growing to do. Like before going to that workshop, I had this like prayer condition, and I made like a promise to God, and I was like, I'm going to do like at least 1 year to like develop myself. There's so many aspects I feel like I need to develop. And then I remember telling JeeSong that I was like, I'm not ready to start anything because I want to use this 1 year to really develop myself. And I think you were a bit like, what? But then, sort of on and off we went on. And then at some point, we both felt like it was the right time to contact each other. I think you were sort of making preparations on your own to like contact me again. And then I also had this like weird experiences where I had these because I was very conflicted with the situation of, am I too young? Is this really the person you want to be with? And it's such a huge decision as well. So I was sort of on and off about this. And then my mom really talked to me, and she was like, but if you don't think this is the right guy, then I don't think you should lead him on. You shouldn't contact him like that. You should cut it off, and not just be friends because you're giving him false hope. And then I thought, I really love him as a friend. Like, he's so nice and everything, but is this really the right step to take? And then I remember after thinking about that and praying about that, every time I like went to sleep or like went for a nap or something, I would like think of him or think of his family, and I didn't even know how his family looked like. Dream of his family, and we had
dreams of me.
And then I would be like, okay, and I would just tell God, I was like, no, this is like too much. What are you doing? I was like, this is not your choice and everything. And then I think at some point, I think it was a turning point where like I had this dream of his dad doing like a video call with me. And he was showing me like the place where JeeSong grew up, or the place where you live right now, or his family lives in Liberia. And then it was all the family just saying hello. And I was on the other side of the phone. And I'd never seen like how it was, but it was like clear as day. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I just went to my mom and I was like, I want to start a matching process. I want to try to make this work. And I think at the time you had already prepared for like 40 days to write me a letter that he was going to give to me, because I was going to go to Champyong that year.
Yeah. So the story behind this is because we met in 2017, and then we officially started the matching process in May.
In 2019.
In 2019, May. And then between basically the whole of 2018, we weren't really speaking because, Heidi needed some time, and also we weren't really ready. So leading into 2019, I spent like months just reflecting, and I knew she was going to come that summer, 2019. So I'm preparing like basically kind of like a letter, because I felt like if I try to just say it in words, that I feel like we should start a matching process, and I felt like I was gonna mess it up and say something stupid. So I was like, okay, let me just get it on paper. So one of my closest friends, like basically he was helping me through it and just helping me process everything, and then
like every day they would call and he would be like, we need to like edit this letter, like this isn't right.
So really nice. So finally, like we're like, okay, it's good, it's done. And then the next day in the morning, I wake up at Champyong, and then I see there's a message from Heidi's mom asking me for my parents' contact information. And then I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, here we go. Yeah. So that was that was how the matching process kind of just picked off. But we had like a strong foundation leading up to that point. So the matching process itself was kind of just reaffirming those things, and seeing that, our values are the same in terms of like the future and family.
Because we knew each other quite well. Like we had talked about God, your parents, all of that before we even started a matching process, just because we were in Champyong together. But then, so the matching process went quite smoothly. Like his parents were on board, he was on board, my parents were on board. And then I was like, this is going too quick. And then they're all just waiting for me to just make a choice. So we had like a few months where we're like, oh, is this going too quick? And then we're like, should we go to the blessing? And then I was like, isn't it too quick? And he's like, what are you waiting for? What are you unsure about? And then I was like, okay, let's just do it. Sure about at this point. So I think we're also like, it's also like, I feel like we're quite good friends first before we even started the matching process. So there was like a foundation of trust, a foundation of, I don't know, goofiness, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like honesty there, which was very nice to have that as a foundation, I think.
Yeah. But, that
sort of encapsulates it.
Yeah. I mean, also, I don't want us to take too long on the first question. but yeah, I mean, that's short. Even though that was a long answer, but yeah, in a short, yeah.
I really like your story because, I mean, one story is never the same. And I do know a few couples actually that also have been suggesting their partner to their parents. And I feel like this is such an old, like, if God and the parents and yourself and your heart is pure and everybody's involved, then why not? As you said, Heidi, your mom said, God can also guide us as well, not just our parents. And as long as everybody's on board, everybody is clear on that. And you also said you were not ready at the time. You were too young and you wanted to develop. So that was actually a very mature decision.
No, but
I'm saying yes, but I want to develop first a bit more. And then let's see how it will go after 1 year. And then it worked out very well. And so that's very beautiful on taking the time, but also taking this, being brave on doing that and also standing for that. And that you and gave her the time to say, okay, no, we have to go now to the blessing, or now I give you the time that you need now. And so I found it really beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was nice because we also had this sort of sense of like being clear with our conscience. Like I was like, okay, before we start a matching process, I was like, I want to treat JeeSong like any other guy I know. Like I don't want my conscience to like tell me something else, like, oh, Heidi, you're crossing a line or anything. Like I remember always telling you, I was like, I can't go, like I can't cross a line where you're not just a brother to me before the matching process. Yeah, I remember we would always talk, or like we would talk about that. Like we always wanted to keep ourselves in line. I think that really helped us as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So having now shared a little bit your story, how did you decide on moving together to Ireland? Because I heard that you guys were living together in Ireland. And was that also the place you lived the first time together?
No, or what? Sort of
like more kind of
permanently.
Yeah. Because it's a good question. How? And it's,
because none of us are from Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. Heidi's from, well, she's half Scottish, so, but it's still not Ireland. So it's like, yeah.
But I live in Norway.
Yeah,
so it wasn't a natural choice.
Yeah, but yeah, the question how, it kind of like with international couples, and I think like it's not talked about enough, but usually like there are a lot of barriers, between different countries. You're lucky maybe if you're from like, let's say Europe, and it's a bit easier, but sometimes there are a lot of complexities with visas and all those things. So we were, to put it, we're naive going into that whole issue, and there are a lot of things we didn't fully research and stuff like that. So when we got blessed, we had all these plans that we thought were gonna just work because, of course, like we're married and everything.
Yeah, our initial plan was just to move to Norway, and we're like, this is gonna be so simple. We're married. It's gonna be fine. Because a few months after we got blessed, we got legally married.
Yeah. So we got blessed February 2020, and then we got married July 2020. And so the plan was just to basically settle in Norway and then get on with our lives.
But little did we know.
Yeah. Right. So basically we searched up the whole process, and then we're like, okay, we need to apply. And then we're like, wait, it takes 18 months to wait. Okay, now that's and then when we applied, we realized it was really complicated. And then they said because we're too young when we got like legally married, we have to do an interview. But then the waiting time for that was like 17 months. So it was just we were like, what's going on? Heidi was in school at the time, so
in university.
She was in university. So we're trying to figure out like what was the best thing to do. And then we got lucky, like a year and a half into this whole like process. We're like, okay, we can actually move to another European country, and the waiting time is like a few weeks, and then it's actually much easier. There's less requirements and stuff like that. So once like Heidi was once she had time off school and like she graduated, then we're like, okay, we need to pick a country, any other European country we could go to, because that was basically the loophole that we figured out. But because we hadn't done the research earlier, we got into a lot of complications. So I think, yeah, like that's something like I think one of there was an event we talked about it in, just to share some light on. But yeah, talking to people and getting some advice, that really helped us to get on course, because we really wanted to prioritize us and like living together and not being like apart. And
yeah, because at the time, I mean, during the matching process, we were long distance, and then after the blessing as well, we were long distance. And at some point, we were like, this has to stop.
Yeah, it was too much long distance. It was almost 2 years or so long.
And since we figured the European requirements were a bit easier than the Norwegian ones, we're like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
And you managed to get a visa to come into Ireland in like a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we had to do the application from Ireland.
Yeah.
Rather than if we did it in Norway, he would have to be in Liberia at the time while we were applying for these 17 plus 16 months or something.
Yeah.
So we figured, why not go? It's a new thing. I always wanted to go live in a different country. Yeah, we just wanted to be together at that point. We were like, if things are so difficult, they're going to be much easier being together rather than being apart.
Yeah.
And then you got the 5-year permit like within a few weeks or months after being in Ireland, and we're like, this worked, like finally there's security, there's I don't know, and it was just nice to be together. And we could also, I think also being apart from like both of our families, we really had to rely on each other as well and work on or like see how it was to live together, because JeeSong was living in Norway for a few months with my family. But it was very different at the time, and it was also a very short time. It was more getting to know the family rather than us just getting to know each other, I felt like. But this was really but I think we had also a strong foundation from the long distance. I remember we were still telling each other, we're like, if we can go through the long distance relationship and like all the hardships, all the crying, I don't know, everything that comes with it, like then we can go through anything. And then I feel like, being in Ireland was such a breeze after that. There were a lot. I think we were also just welcomed so much by the community. Like they're a lovely community. And they were so happy to have us. And we were trying to be there for everyone that was there as well. Just getting to know them, being a good brother, older brother and older sister to them. And also just showing, I think, that we were happy to be there. And I think it was nice for them to see as well, because there weren't so many couples at the time in Ireland. So I think they were really happy to see us. And I think we're happy.
Just kidding. We had a great time in Ireland. I mean, like I was telling you guys earlier, like when we met them again in Switzerland, it was like, that was why we were in Ireland, basically.
So Heidi, you said you were living in Norway, finishing your school, and JeeSong, you were in Korea. You were learning Korean at the time, right?
Oh no, actually, I was. So when we met, and then at that time, actually, I was thinking, I want to go to Europe and play basketball. I was very like obsessed with basketball back then. So this is like 2017 when we met. So I had this plan, and then eventually I ended up moving. It took a while to like find a like basketball club and whatever, but I ended up moving to Sweden in 2019 September
for a year.
Yeah, so it was also much easier for us to be closer to each other, because Sweden is just a drive away from Norway. So I was like, my time in Korea is done, bye bye. And then now it's much closer to Heidi living in Sweden, and so that was kind of the.
But that was more like our matching period. It was both in Korea and in Sweden. And then for the visa, he had to move back to Liberia. We thought either he could go back to Korea or be with his family in Liberia. We thought it's better to be in Liberia for him at the time. He's like Mr. Worldwide, I feel like. Always changing.
Yeah. Oh, but so that was the circumstances. I was in. I don't know. If you're leading to a question.
I wanted to help the listeners understand that both of you had different cultural backgrounds where it came from, and that the choice of living in Ireland together wasn't your first choice, because you actually wanted to be with Heidi's family in Norway.
Yeah.
But you decided on Ireland maybe for logistical reasons, right? The visa went very quick, but also there, let's say there was Spain and France, like other European countries that also would have given you a quick visa. Why choose Ireland? Like, what was it for you too, where you said, okay, this feels right?
I think it was, JeeSong is a man of many languages, but I think we thought mostly that English would be the easiest choice. And we thought Ireland, we've also heard of a lot of couples going to Ireland because it was a bit simpler for them. If they were having like issues, even people from the UK, if they were having issues, they would go to Ireland. And it would be a lot simpler. Yeah, I remember even my mom tipped us about it, like, what about Ireland? I've heard of somebody. And we're like, that's easy with it.
And Heidi kept getting contacted on LinkedIn from these firms in Ireland that needed Norwegian speakers.
Oh,
So,
wow.
So it kept popping on our radar. Yeah.
So career-wise.
So there was a lot of reasons, why, but yeah, and also English was one of the biggest things. Like we consider Sweden, but I think English. And yeah, it seemed like the right choice somehow.
So we've established that Ireland is, for every blessed couple, the best country to live in.
And Ireland is very welcoming. Like, they're
the
very
people,
welcoming.
the visa situation.
Like it's super welcoming, and
but I think it's also super international, which is great if you're an international couple. Like I remember, I think the first day or the first week, we walked down a street and we heard like 4 or 5 different languages in the span of a minute, and we're like, this is so nice. Because it's a very international place where you feel like people from South America come, people from all over Europe come.
Yeah.
So I feel like people come there for a lot of career stuff as well, which is nice. I think we also stayed because it was nice, and it was fairly easy to get a job once you know a different language, which is very like, lucrative and attractive, I think.
So it's definitely good stuff for couples that are blessed internationally outside of Europe, or at least one of them, and then wanting to come to Europe. So having that, Ireland is a first stop because you speak also English.
Highly recommend.
I mean, language was a huge part of it. Like some people, maybe it's French might be their language or something.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. And so how was that for you, both like coming to a lovely community, but still like, not having your family there, but creating a new home for you? How was that for you both?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing actually comes to mind right away was just connecting to the community, like straight away, not like kind of holding back and kind of thinking, oh, we don't know anyone here, we don't have family. But it's like straight away just connecting, and we didn't have to force it. It was also very natural. Like when we arrived at the airport, one of the brothers, Sam McCann, he offered to pick us up at the airport, and there was a couple. They're living in Italy now, but Vittorio and Mia, they welcomed us. They were so warm. It was just like we really just tried to dive into the community, and that was a huge kind of that just made everything easy and just smooth.
I feel like what JeeSong's mentioning is instead of having our family, actually the community really felt like our second family, which we didn't expect at all. And they were just super loving, and I think it was also like you've been independent for quite a lot time of your life. Like he's mostly with aunties or with brothers and sisters, and since you were 13.
Yeah, because I went to
either in a dormitory or so he didn't live so much with his family other than before we went to Ireland. But me, I've been living with my family every single day, I feel like, of my life. I was very like grounded in my home, and I never felt like I was gonna move. And so it was quite weird, like, for us to even discuss like moving out to Norway. I was like, what do you mean? It's like the best place to live. I love it here. I know everything. And it was sort of weird. But I think I also craved a bit trying to be independent and not just living with my parents or trying something new. So I think it was quite fun for the both of us, just being a bit more independent and then fully relying on each other when we needed that. So it was quite I feel like it was quite like a healthy and nice step for us actually to be there and to try something new, to rely on each other a lot more.
Yeah.
Because we knew we couldn't, like, even if we called our parents, they couldn't really help with anything there. We were the ones who were living the lives there. But I think, yeah, we have to, I think being with each other definitely, but also like having or relying on like brothers and sisters around us, even like aunties and uncles in the church. They were just being super nice. Like I remember we couldn't go home to Norway one Christmas, and then 3-4 families invited us to have Christmas dinner with them.
Yeah.
Like even that example in itself shows like we were sort of adopted into several families. They were like, "Oh, you poor things," like the classic Irish humor where you're like, "I guess we have to." It was very nice. Like we didn't feel.
That was really nice.
Yeah,
that was quite nice. I still remember we had ducks that day.
Oh,
dinner. Yeah, it was special.
Yeah, it was very nice. But I think we felt like we weren't just people who randomly came in, but people actually felt like, yeah, I don't know, we were a part of the community, and I think that was life changing. And I know not everybody feels that way whenever they go to different places, but I think we sort of just tried to be optimistic with every situation. We also just tried to connect to the community rather than just spend 24 hours with each other every single day, because we knew we needed more than just ourselves in this space. And we also like intentionally tried to stay at the church center, because we were like, if we're going to integrate into this community, we have to like go 100 or like or it's not going to work. Like we need to know the people here, and we need to really integrate. And that was sort of our strategy. And then we quickly became friends with a lot of people, and they supported us. So they would ask us how we were doing, or just welcome us, I think. I feel like it was really nice.
It's such an important point for couples that move into another country and then they're not connected with their friends and family. And we're so fortunate that we have communities all around the world.
Yeah.
100%.
Multiple communities in one country. And then I can understand if there's a bit of hesitation because you're new, you don't know anyone. But it sounds like that, if the community is consisting of more than 5 people, there is always things to talk about and people to get to know and, get
Come
to know
together,
closer,
like-
come together.
Yeah.
And it seems like you have to be, as someone who moves into a new community, you have to, in a way, step inside very proactively, and it would be worth it a lot to do that, even though it's not your type of introverted people, right? They feel, I'm not sure about the community. People are a bit different than the people I know from my community. But it sounds like it's the easiest way to feel at home in a different country where you're not at home, right? People know the values, everyone understands you, and
Because it comes into like sort of the cultural differences as well. Even within Europe, you're like, what is this? Like people do things so differently than how I was raised, or even like different families in the church do things very differently, and then you're like, wow, this is so different. How do I react to this? Or like, but I think it's nice to just like, I love that part of our community where we're such a diverse group, where we can just have differences, and it's not always easy. It can be frustrating, or it can be like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is not. But I think we definitely had moments like that, but then we could be okay in front of others, and then we could be like, JeeSong, you know what happened? I don't know what to do. Or like, do I have to do this? I don't know. It's just, I mean, I think coming from a Nordic country, we can be very introverted at times, or we can be very like antisocial and things like that. But thankfully, JeeSong, you're very social, and then sometimes I could just like join in and be like, I'm just listening, I'm just trying to connect, or something like that, I think. But I think you just have to jump into it, and you'll be rewarded for it so much later, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, we made friends for life. Like and I think it was just because of our attitude and how we just we try to just connect with everyone.
Right. Yeah. It's also good that you got on the topic with the different cultures, because You two come from two very different cultures. Like the one is really hot.
That's not the culture. No, that's just the country's temperatures. But yeah.
No, she said the northern more kind of introverted, the southern more extroverted. So, what were one of your biggest cultural differences that you noticed in your relationship, but also then how that shaped or still shapes your daily life?
I know, like something. I mean, there's some things that I feel like I don't even get used to now. But it's also like, I love you and you're amazing. But I still freak out every now and then. Like, no, I think definitely like Africans in general are a lot more like social. They're a lot more hype. And I've always loved that. Like I've had a lot of friends in my life, like even from kindergarten and growing up, I've always had like few African friends in my life, and I've always loved that. But I feel like I'm very different, and it's very different also living together, where you see it more in day-to-day life. Like I remember, I feel like I still freak out about this every now and then. You're like excited. What is she gonna say?
Yeah, I'm waiting. Just say it.
I think one thing I feel like is I feel like they're a lot more social than they are in Norway. So they always call each other, like quite a lot. And JeeSong might like call on the subway or on the bus, and he might speak like a bit louder than what is a social norm in Norway. And then I'm like, JeeSong, like be a bit more quiet. Or like I'm always like freaking out, and my heart is like racing. Yeah, I'm like panicking. I'm like, this is not the social norm. And I'm like freaking out, and then JeeSong's like, "It's not a big deal. Like, I'm just talking. I'm soon done." And then I'm like, but I think a different aspect of it is that he's like he doesn't necessarily always like for example in that situation he doesn't always care what others are doing. Like he focuses fully on the person he's calling, or like he wants to connect. He wants to like there's a beautiful aspect of like wanting to connect to people, especially in Liberia. They call each other very often, and that's such a bit like big or thing that I'm not used to in my family. Like it could take a long, or I'm not that great at contacting people in general, so I think that's a very big difference. Or just like the loud voice, where I'm like, oh my god, we should be quiet. What are we doing?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting bits. Like one thing I always think about when like in Liberia, like to my uncles, like I'm also their son.
Yeah.
And then so they might like if they're saying hi to me, they might, refer to me as son or same with like my aunts or so it's like it's a very like with your extended families you're very close as well.
Mm-hmm.
So and because sometimes there's always that confusion, and even sometimes it's like it's an aunt that you're not actually biologically related to, but she's still an aunt because she was there when you were a baby and like raised you and everything. So it's always funny like when I'm talking to people from other cultures and like Heidi as well, and like especially like let's say Heidi's family or someone in Norway. Where I'm like, yeah, we're gonna meet my aunt, and they're like, oh, your aunt, and I'm like, actually, my, and then I have to kind of explain like my Liberian aunt or or something like that, So there's a bit of those differences, but it's also nice like when me and Heidi spend time with them, and like we're just in Korea visiting my Liberian family there, and yeah, like I said, my Liberian family, we're not actually biologically related, but when I was a kid, my parents were national leaders. They were so busy. So a lot of the first gen aunties like basically raised me. Yeah. So when like just seeing Heidi spending time with them, and I feel like she really like can experience like the Liberian kind of energy. Like, they want her to like dance, and they're like, come on, Heidi. Like, yeah.
And then I freak out and I'm like, act normal. What do I do?
Yeah, because for me, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm somewhat kind of neutral because I lived with different cultures.
Yeah, both the Korean, and he knows a lot of Europeans and Americans.
Yeah. So because of that, it's like when Heidi visits my family or people that knew me since I was a child, I feel like she really gets to experience the culture, and also like visiting my dad's hometown. But I think it's at least from what I see, like just sometimes when I take a step back and just see like everything unfold, I think there's a lot of love. Like Heidi is very, because she loves me, she, embraces my culture, and because my family loves me, they try to embrace her. So it's a very like, it's a beautiful thing that happens, and the differences are more funny. They usually just bring laughter to the whole thing.
Yeah, he just laughs when I go awkward and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then he's just laughing. And I'm like, ah.
I remember this when we visited my dad's hometown. So as in Liberia, you have a lot of different tribes, and they have like their own like language. So usually in those languages, in those cultures, when they give you a name, well, in the language itself, it may sound, given the meaning as well, it may sound like poetic. But when we try to translate the name, the beauty of the name doesn't translate, or maybe it might sound a bit too literal. So I remember when Heidi and I visited my dad's hometown, there was a lady there, and she was like, I give you a traditional name. And then we're like, okay. And then she said the name, and then it sounded nice. And then I asked my auntie, and I was like, oh, what does the name mean? And then she was like, it's the white girl. And then I was like, that's so I thought it would be like something more like complicated, or something like, beautiful or something. But it's like, but maybe there's like a beauty for way that it was said, maybe in that culture. But it's like, but there's those little things that happen. Sometimes when I step back, I find it a bit funny. Yeah.
But what about Norwegian culture? How have you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was quite easy, like connecting to Norwegian culture for me. Yeah. Cause like, I would say also like living in Korea, like I met so many different second gens, and yeah, so it was like, and like, yeah, like I said, like Heidi's parents were like so welcoming, and like I remember I was so, like the first time I visited, I was a bit like, like I'm gonna meet her dad for the first time. Is it gonna be like,
Like the
like
tough
scary,
guy.
like, and then I was like, I was worried, like I'm not gonna lie. And then yeah, but like when I met them, they were so like nice and welcoming, and yeah, like so we kind of started we started really well, and it's been great. And in terms of the culture, like I think some of it is like just understanding, like Heidi was saying, like there's different social norms. Like I'm used to maybe something that's a bit more up tempo, or a bit louder culture, a bit more social culture. And then in Norway, you kind of have to, yeah, you have to almost kind of tone it down a bit, and find ways to connect in a way that's maybe more normal in Norwegian culture. And it's like trying to like adjust in that sense. I think yeah, like I kind of just accept it for what it is, and I think there is a beauty to it, because there is like a saying in Norway where like, I don't know if there's a saying, but I've heard it, where it's like in certain cultures there's like peach cultures, where like because like a peach is like soft on the outside but hard on the inside, so it's like it's really easy to get to know people externally, but like it's really hard to be really close. But then Norway is kind of like a coconut culture, where it's like it's really hard to break in, but then once you like break in, you become really close, or like you're like super close. So I think that's Norway is more kind of like the coconut culture kind of thing. So usually like it takes much longer to like get to know people, and like for them to really like see you as, okay, he's like a friend, Yeah, because for the longest of time, where maybe you think, okay, this guy's a friend, you might just be considering you like an acquaintance or something. So there's like, I kind of learned to like accept that, like, okay, like I know this guy, but maybe I have to maybe work with him for years or something before we become friends or something like that. Yeah. So it's just it's different in that sense.
But was it hard for you?
I think that it's hard though, because in like, let's say in Liberia, if me and someone chat, like we chat for a bit, and maybe we have a thing or two in common, like naturally I just consider him like a friend, like not like, okay, he's like my closest friend, but it's like I think of him as a friend. And there's like, I suppose just the cultural kind of orientation is like, yeah, like, you get to know someone, you can always just chat. You don't have to be like the best of friends, but it's like, but yeah, now you know him, he knows my name, I know his name. We've talked a bit, and yeah, so we're friends. But it's like in Norway, I know like I might talk to a guy, but then maybe a day or two later, if we're not in that same circumstances again, where like maybe we met because of basketball, like if we're not in that same space, then it's kind of like we don't really know each other anymore. There's like, and it's just like different kind of, yeah, it's a different like, yeah, social kind of norms. And yeah, it's sometimes it kind of sucks, but it's, but I think it's kind of just part of, yeah, like, yeah, I mean, it's Norway, so it is what it is.
I think one aspect of it is also like we considered moving to Liberia, the both of us actually. Like it was never out of the question to move to Liberia, and we even tried to like get jobs there and stuff like that, so we could connect more to that culture. But it didn't work out in the end. But yeah, I think we're both adjusting to like both cultures at the same time. Like I still get pointers from his auntie, like I'll teach you Liberian culture. Yeah, I don't know much.
Because they're like, JeeSong doesn't know anything. He's been away for too long. So yeah.
And we both get pointers.
Yeah.
Great. So obviously, when a couple gets together, being blessed, it's a really new step in life to live together and to move somewhere to either another city in the same country you grew up in, or to a very different continent. So obviously it takes courage, but also you grow internally. Can you describe us maybe if you prepared internally for this step to just move together, move out from home and move to a different country? Like, is it something that universally could help people to make that easier?
In terms of like internally, like,
yeah, to make that big step in your life feel more guided, more prepared, that you feel more inner strength.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it is like really having a clear intention and like a vision together as a couple, and making priorities based on that. We like, I think once we got to that point, we realized our priority is being together and focusing on our lives together. Like there are many other things we could have prioritized. Like Heidi could have prioritized, studying a bit more, and maybe I could have said, okay, I'm gonna go to Korea and finish uni or something like that. We could have prioritized different things in our lives. But yeah, like really being intentional and making the right, yeah, setting our priorities correctly based on our vision. I think that was a really key component.
Yeah, because it wasn't so straightforward for us to move to Ireland. Like it wasn't the obvious choice for us. There was definitely a bit of tugging and pulling for us to see, like, is it right for JeeSong? And then is it right for me? Like, do I really, like, I think we're both a bit like, or especially me, I think I was a bit like, why should I move from, like, our plan was Norway. Why are we changing this? But it was also the fact of like not thinking as an individual, but thinking like what's great for the both of us and like how are we going? Like if we're in this together, we have to support each other and we have to find a common goal. And it definitely, we weren't on the same page at first. And I think that's sort of important to share as well, that it wasn't just like, this is the right choice, we're going for it, and we're both super happy. There was definitely a lot of like insecurities and being just scared of the unknown. Like we didn't know anything about Ireland. We were sort of trusting God, and because we've been doing like a lot of conditions and stuff like that for JeeSong to come to Norway, and then I just felt like things weren't going right over and over and over, and things were just taking longer. And I remember being like, I remember telling my parents, because we were like doing some conditions together as well, to like for things to go more smoothly. I remember being like, what is going on? Like, why is nothing working? And it just felt like things weren't going in the right direction at all. And we had waited for so long for JeeSong to come to Norway already. But then we sort of felt, I mean, we prepared a lot with doing conditions prior to us going to Ireland, I feel like. And we were sort of thinking of how can we, like, what is the priority here? And really like, not just thinking of like what we want, what's great career-wise or anything. We're thinking how can we start a life together? How can we be together? How can, like, if we're in this, then we really have to fight for us, I think. Later on, I feel like it became one of those moments where you look back and you're like, yeah, God, that was the right choice. Like you did your work there. We knew it wasn't like it was so much better than any other choice that there could have been at the time. And I feel like in our matching story, in our blessing story, there's a lot of things we didn't go into detail, but we feel like so many times it's just like God like guiding us or even being like laughing and being like, you know, that wasn't the right choice. Like, come on. And then we were guided to it. But you can only see that in hindsight. Like at the moment, you're so frustrated and you're so sort of angry at the situation. But yeah. I think we definitely felt like God was there, or Heavenly Parents was there in our lives and guiding us to that. And this was the right choice for us to move there. Even though there was, like I said, there were a lot of like insecurities or just fear of the unknown. Like, what is going to happen? Who are these people? Are they like, I don't know them? Or like, I don't know. Yeah. They're just different from us. So it's like, what do we do? Or do they think we're weird? Or are they weird? I don't know.
I love the point where you said it's important to find a common goal.
Yeah.
Since you, Heidi, you lived with your parents and you both already talked and had the vision to move there. So for you, it was, you had this very clear idea what your future would be like, since you've already experienced, your whole childhood, what it's like to live there. And to give that up and to be flexible and to put you as a couple first, it sounds like a very big growing step, like a very big, very steep learning curve to switch to that decision and to be open for that. And sounds like that's something that could be helpful for couples that struggle with finding their place. Shall we go to my country? Shall we go to my country? To just be open for both of them to skip both countries that both know and look for the actual ideal place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I think you're both, if you go to one person's country or the other person's country, you're both, one is a lot more comfortable, the other one has a lot bigger footing. But both being in a place where it's unknown, you're forced to lean on each other and you're forced to just learn everything. And I think you're being set on this like equal grounding, which I think can be very helpful. I think it can just be fun and frustrating at the same time. And that could be like something you laugh about or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think you just have to take it with positivity. But I definitely think,
Yeah, no, like you're saying, it's like usually when I think, okay, like international couples, like I really hope that, like just based off our experience, I really hope it's like you go into it with that open mind, like you were talking about, like, because in a lot of ways, you have to give up. You have to give up a lot of things and make a lot of big adjustments. Like your life is gonna change drastically, and yeah, I think just having that mindset to put in both your couple first, and that's like it's like the key, I would say, to just solving a lot of things. And like no matter how complex things might seem, once you have that common kind of purpose, you always find the answer, I feel like.
Yeah. Do you have, you have a freshly blessed couple in front of you and they're asking themselves, okay, so what are we going to do? I don't want to live in my country. I want to explore the world. And the other person says the same. So they want to explore. How can they come together and find common ground? How did you do it? And what kind of advice would you give a freshly blessed couple?
So they both want to explore.
Both want to explore. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, because I feel like usually at least one is stubborn and they want to be in their own country.
Yeah.
I think that's, I mean, off the bat, it's beautiful that they both want to like travel or like, be open to a new experience. I think for us, I don't know, we were sort of, I think you like Europe quite a lot. He has a lot of European friends. And I think our mind was just sort of set on Europe because of Norway. Yeah. And then we're just thinking of an English-speaking country. Now that I think back on it, we could have gone to like different places.
Yeah.
Makes sense more.
Yeah, in terms of like I think like if this couple is like let's say they're like two I'm like, yeah, like go for it, like travel the world, have fun, and do all these exciting things.
No, but they want to find a place to like
wait, so okay,
move to together.
so they want to explore first, or do they, and then settle down, or
Okay, I'll specify.
okay,
The freshly blessed couple, just want to find a home for the next like 5 years before having a family. They're still young, and they're tired of their home countries. They want to.
Right. Yeah.
Can I add
Yeah,
something?
you can add.
I agree actually with Heidi that there are actually more couples that one person is really wanting to stay in their own country because of, for example, the community. They
Right.
really like the community and don't want it to move. And maybe the other is in the same situation or
Yes.
is willing to move.
You're right. So I will totally will all of this.
That's why I was getting excited, because I was like, whoa, that sounds very fun. They could just travel.
But I guess there are definitely couples that are open, both of them are open to go anywhere and just try it out. And so I think that's great too.
Then let me ask the question again, and then we can wrap up. Okay, so my question is, there's a newly freshly blessed couple, and how do they decide where to move? Both of them love their countries. They have friends there. They have a good community. How do they decide? What kind of process could you recommend to them to gain clarity on that?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. It just kind of came to me as you were saying the question. But this isn't specifically our experience, but we've like one of my in-laws actually, they've done something where they try one country for, let's say, 2 years, and they try the other country for 2 years. Like some couples do something like that as well. But yeah, but I would imagine for you to get to that point, you really have to talk about it and really really prioritize, like I would say, really be on the same page of like understanding each other and really considering each other like to the fullest, because it has to go both ways, right? Like 2 years in another person's country and then 2 years in another person's country. Like you have to do it happy, like not like unwillingly, like, oh, now I have to go to your country. I have to put up with this. But it's like you really have to, yeah, like be open. And so like that's something I've seen, and I feel like I've seen couples that find their answers through that.
Because that route is also, it's not just like through all the couples we've talked about that have, or talked to that have done that route, they get to know their partner a lot more through that experience actually. And then after having lived in both countries, they either decide to live in one of them, usually from our experience, and then they see what's best for the both of them, and they usually come to a conclusion. But that's like the equal method, where it's like you do this, I do this, we're equal, and we can learn from each other. But there's definitely a lot of benefits to that, or doing like us, going to a completely different country and trying that. Because like I said, you have equal grounding. You both feel unsure about everything, and you both have to navigate a whole new thing. Another thing is, I think one thing that always comes to my mind when I hear couples that are like, I want to stay in my country, I'm like, you don't need to be so stubborn about it. And I know that's like super easy to say. It's like, of course you want to be in your own country. Like, I remember when JeeSong said, let's move to Ireland. I'm like, but I know everything in Norway. I know the tax system. I know how to get into this and this job. I know what to say. I know the language. I know everything. And I'm like, I know all the ways to do things. And you're suddenly asking me to just give up all of that for like a question mark. Like, I don't know, like a country that is just like question marks for me. But it's also just seeing, like, being positive about it. Like, it's something new. Like, it's an adventure to try something new.
Like I see how, like, also there's every couple can be in a different like kind of circumstance, right? Like you could be in your mid-20s or in your later 20s, and maybe like it's easier, like, because someone has a more stable job, and maybe you're a few years from considering having kids. So you could be in like a lot of these different situations, and then based on that, you now have to sit down at the drawing board. But it's like you have to sit down at that drawing board and figure out like, okay, this is what we have. These are the cards,
Work
and
out.
then do it together. Because like we're like when we went to Ireland, we were like the situation was easier. Like let's say for example, if let's say we had a baby, going to Ireland would have been very complicated, for example.
Mm.
Right? But it's like at that time we're younger, no kids, and looking at the cards we had, it was probably the best option we had. Right. So I think it's just the basis or the formula is kind of just, I would say is formula is a strong word. I don't know if there's like a set formula, but I think it's just, you have to look at your drawing board together and like, and just figure it out as a team. Like, cause
Yeah.
there's so many different circumstances out there for everyone. But yeah, I feel like if your team is like, you can always figure it out. And
Yeah, I think you always just have to support each other as well. Like it's not, it doesn't always feel like a winning card, maybe moving to a different country. It didn't for us at first. I was like, I'm losing this. We're supposed to be with my family. Like my friends are not here. And I'm supposed to be okay with this. But I think for you, you're more like, this is new opportunities. This is fun. But I think also during that time, it's important to be there for each other, that you don't feel like one is losing out on something. Like I think JeeSong was such a supportive partner where I felt like, okay, I feel really lonely doing this. Like I thought we were like, I had the expectation that we were supposed to go to Norway. What happened? But then JeeSong being a super supportive partner and being like, hey, I know you've been feeling down. Like like let's go out on a date, or like let's dress up and like just take a walk in the city and do something fun. So I would just take my mind off it and I would be like, oh, we're creating such lovely memories here. Yeah, like it's important to really be aware of your partner and see, because yeah, I think in ideal situations you win some, you lose some, but the real winning card is being there for each other and making sure you're both winning, I think.
That's very beautiful, beautifully said too. Really supporting each other and being there for each other to, yeah, uphold your relationship and to see that, to look that one person is not losing, but that you both together winning. And of course, there are always certain sacrifices you have to make in a relationship, but to see the bigger picture on yeah, the winning situation, what can you gain or can you give towards each other? So that's very beautiful.
Yeah, I think being grateful for each other was a big thing as well. For just JeeSong being like, thank you for doing this. Or me being like, thank you for taking me along on this ride. And it was fun. Just showing appreciation and love to each other every day.
Yeah, definitely. We usually like to take things for granted, but then we started to do this gratitude stone. We have a gratitude stone in the evening. It's like, what are you grateful for the whole day? Like 10 things or something.
I love that.
So you just walk outside in nature, you find a stone like this big, and then you just put it on your bedside table. And every evening before actually going to sleep, you lay in bed, hold that stone, and you just ask each other,
what are you the most grateful for of this day? And you need to find the thing that you were most grateful for. And you have to go through a few things usually that you can find it. And then that's like, oh yeah, there have been a lot of things to be grateful for today, even on hard days.
Yeah.
That's so nice. We should take a walk after this. Great ideas.
great. Thank you guys so much. I feel like people listening to this and were wondering about that situation, I feel they could gain some ideas and some clarity. If I would sum it up together, it's most important that the couple talks to each other and that they formulate a common goal together, common future vision. That future vision doesn't have to be like very solid and structured. Like it can also mean we can try that country and see how that feels, and then we can do that. And while doing that journey, always listen to each other and care for each other. And then, I mean, what could go wrong if you always stick together and pay attention to each other? Then it can be a very cool experience, like an adventure. And maybe that's something many people are afraid of in a young age, but as in your example, it's also a great opportunity to just have a level playing field. Like both are in a different country. Yeah.
Taking this leap of faith on starting something both of you don't know. Yeah, see how it goes. And then, okay, it's not working out. Let's try something different. Not to fixate on something. As you said at the beginning, you was like, oh yeah, I really want to stay in Norway. Why do I have to go to Ireland? And then having JeeSong with you, and it's like, oh, he's there to support you, and you're doing that together. It's just like, it's not just you by yourself, but you're doing it together. And I think that's very, very valuable on seeing, I don't do this by myself. We do this together, and we are a team, and we go through this experience as a team. Yeah. Yes. So thank you so much for your time that you agreed on coming on this podcast and share your story. It was really nice. It was really
it was a lot of fun.
Sorry we couldn't go through more of the questions. We're just chatting and having a good time.
Yes, definitely. I think that's makes a good podcast where it's not just about the question, but you have you share a story, and then we talk a little bit where it's a bit back and forth, and we're just having a good time, and hopefully the listeners have it too. So
yeah. I know. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I feel like it's it's a different vibe. Like, because I was wondering what it would be like doing a podcast, like, because I haven't done something like it before. But yeah, it's nice. It feels more conversational, and like it's nice.
Just to chat with old friends, not as conversational as in Liberia, for example. But
in Liberia, there would be a TV on, there would be music.
There'll be music in the background. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There'll be like 5 people talking.
There'll be like someone in the corner. You think they're arguing, but they're having a great time.
I wish you all the best for your Irish future.
No, they're Norway now.
Oh yeah, you're Norway. We moved to Norway. I wish you all the best for your future in Norway, of course.
Thank you so much.
And hope to see you soon someday at the workshop or at some place.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Or another wedding.
Or another wedding.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Or another wedding.
Okay.
Thank
you guys take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.